I've been driving for Uber in Chicago for 3 years now. You learn things about people when they think you're invisible. The arguments, the whispered confessions, the silences that say more than any words could. After a while, the city itself starts to talk to you. You know which blocks breathe and which ones hold their breath. But none of that compares to what happened last October. A night that still smells like rain and rust whenever I close my eyes. It was late, close to 2:30 a.m. I just dropped off a couple near Logan Square, drunk, laughing, holding onto each other like they were keeping each other from falling off the world. My tank was nearly empty, and I was planning to call it a night when the app pinged again. The pickup point was a street I didn't recognize. A dead stretch near the river, half industrial, half forgotten, that didn't show up clearly on GPS. Surge pricing was high. Easy fare, I told myself. One last trip before home. The air grew heavy as I got closer, and the familiar hum of the city faded into a kind of muffled quiet, like I was driving underwater. The buildings turned skeletal, hollowed-out warehouses with boarded windows and graffiti like claw marks. When I finally reached the pin, the street was deserted. No traffic, no streetlights, just the pulse of my headlights sweeping over cracked pavement and the glint of rain pooled in potholes. Then I saw her. She stood beneath a flickering sign that buzzed faintly. H. L's Diner, half the letters dead. Her coat was long and gray, clinging to her as if it were soaked. Her hair dripped water onto the ground, though the rain had stopped an hour ago. She didn't wave, didn't move until I stopped. Then, without meeting my eyes, she slid into the back seat. "Home," she whispered. Her voice was faint, like it had traveled a long way to reach me. I checked the app. The destination field was blank, just a pin floating in the middle of the map. No address, no street. I asked again. "Home," she repeated, a little louder this time. Against my better judgment, I started driving toward the pin. Almost immediately, the temperature dropped. The warmth from the vents vanished, replaced by a cold so sharp it stung my teeth. My breath fogged the windshield. I turned up the heat, but it was like the air refused to move. In the mirror, her reflection flickered, not like a trick of light, but like bad reception. She wasn't scrolling through her phone, not looking out the window, just sitting there, eyes fixed on the back of my head. Her lips were pale, almost blue. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I asked. She blinked once, slow. "Do you see him?" "See who?" I glanced around, but the street outside was empty. Her gaze shifted toward the front passenger seat. "He keeps following me home." A chill crawled up the back of my neck. I told myself she was drunk, or high, or just crazy. Happens all the time on night shifts. But then I looked back in the mirror. There was someone in the passenger seat. At least, something shaped like someone. It sat perfectly still, its head turned toward the window. The shape was faint, like cigarette smoke trapped in human form, but I could see the hollow of its eyes, blacker than the night outside. My stomach twisted. I couldn't breathe. Then the radio, which had been off, crackled to life. A whisper of static, then a man's voice. Deep. Calm. "You shouldn't have picked her up." The woman in the back began to cry softly. The sound was wet and broken, like her throat was full of water. "He's angry," she murmured. "He doesn't like it when I leave." The voice on the radio replied, clearer now, almost amused. "She doesn't belong anywhere else." I slammed the brakes. The car fishtailed on the wet asphalt and came to a stop beneath a rusted bridge. My pulse was pounding in my ears. I turned around. The back seat was empty. No sound of a door. No footprints on the damp pavement. Just the faint smell of river water. The passenger seat was empty too, except the seatbelt was still buckled. I sat there for a long time, engine idling, hands shaking so badly I could barely keep the car in gear. I checked the app. The trip was gone. No record of a pickup. My last ride was still the couple from Logan Square. I told myself it was exhaustion, hallucination, the kind that creeps up on you after too many 3 a.m. shifts. But the next day I drove back to that street. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted proof I wasn't losing my mind. There was nothing there. No diner, no sign, no flicker of light. Just a burned-out warehouse with its roof half collapsed, windows like empty eyes. I walked around the lot, but all I found was a single tire track, mine, and a puddle that smelled faintly of iron. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. Last week I picked up a young guy heading to O'Hare. Nice kid, half asleep in the back, headphones in. As we crossed the same bridge, the temperature plummeted. My breath clouded the windshield again. Then, from the inside of the glass, letters began to form, drawn by something unseen. Home. The guy didn't notice. I wiped the fog away with my sleeve, pretending nothing happened, pretending I wasn't shaking. That night, I deleted the Uber app. But sometimes when I'm driving late and the roads are quiet, my phone still lights up on its own, a soft ping that makes my stomach drop. Always the same name. No profile. Always the same destination. A pin in the middle of the river. And when I ignore it, the air turns cold. Colder than anything human. Sometimes I think I can see her face in the mirror again. Pale and dripping, eyes wide with something that isn't life. Sometimes when the radio crackles at night, I still hear his voice. You shouldn't have picked her up. And sometimes when I stop at a red light and glance at the passenger seat, it's buckled again.